Hi guys, it's ASBYT and these are the two brand new flagship smartphones from Samsung, the Galaxy Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra. Samsung were kind enough to invite me down to a very special early hands-on event last week to get my grubby little mitts on the sexy new shiny duo. Don't ask. So this is everything you need to know about both devices and my overall first early impressions. It's mostly great, but there are a couple of things you possibly may want to look out for. More on that later. I was also able to go hands-on with the brand new Tab S7 and S7 Plus, the Galaxy Watch 3 and the Galaxy Buds Live. Be sure to subscribe just below the like button for those videos. So the Galaxy Note smartphones have always been Samsung's pinnacle, the best, the most powerful, all-encompassing, can do anything with no compromises. All until last year, that is, when they decided to split the Note 10 phone into the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus. Like that decision or not from Samsung, it seems to be a decision that's here to stay. Enter the Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra. Different name, same idea. So the Note 20 Ultra is the Power Users Edition, for those who can only settle for the very best there is to offer, with a couple of exceptions. And the standard Note 20 is the slightly more accessible, watered down, for the masses sort of phone at a reduced price. So let's start with the new design. And I say new loosely, because there's a lot of similarities here, not only with the Note 10 series, but also with the S20 series. It's almost like if the Note 10 Plus and the S20 Ultra had a baby. I'ma make you mine tonight, pulling your hair, baby. They've got the same edge-to-edge display with almost non-existent forehead and chin, fingerprint scanner with only the front camera punch hole cutout obstructing your viewing pleasure. On the Note 20, we have a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus flat dynamic AMOLED display with a 60Hz refresh rate. And on the Note 20 Ultra, we have a 6.9-inch WQHD Plus curved dynamic AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate and a 240Hz touch input. This combination makes scrolling through social media, browsing the web, and gaming wonderfully smooth. And don't get me wrong, 120Hz refresh rate on a smartphone display in 2020 is not groundbreaking. But on a Samsung panel, I mean, it's pretty hot. The refresh rate can also switch automatically depending on what you're doing on the phone, and this will help to conserve battery life. More on battery later. The curved Infinity O display on the Ultra is incredibly immersive and has a 25% higher peak brightness, which is crazy. The fact the standard Note 20 is flat and the Ultra is curved might actually have some bearing on which model you would go for, and for context, the S20 Ultra is somewhere in between the two. Standard Note 20 completely flat, S20 Ultra half and half, Note 20 Ultra curved. If we flip the phone over, this is where there's quite a big change this year on the Note series. The camera setup is still top left, but it's in a square housing similar to the S20 series, but it looks much better than the S20 Ultra for sure in my opinion, largely down to the new colours and finishes this time around, including this Mystic Bronze edition, which is Samsung's signature colour this year, and I think it looks incredible. They have what Samsung describe as a textured haze finish, which is kind of like a frosted matte glass, and for me, it's a return to the glory years of the S6 and S7 series of phones in that champagne gold colouring. Love those phones. Yes, phones since have had some nice colours and finishes etc, like the Aura Glow version of the Note 10 series, but in my opinion there's something reassuringly premium about one of those old school traditional metals, gold, silver and bronze. The Ultra also comes in Mystic Black and Mystic White. Again, let me know which is your favourite. Now the Ultra is also the first ever phone, as far as I know, to come with the very latest Gorilla Glass technology from Corning. Now we were told at the pre-brief that it was Gorilla Glass 7, but everywhere I've looked, including Corning's own website, it seems the newest upgrade from Gorilla Glass 6 is not 7, but Victus. So unless Corning have gone from Gorilla Glass 6 to Victus in 2 years and Victus to 7 in 1 month, I'm kind of guessing that it's Gorilla Glass Victus on the Note 20 Ultra, but correct me if I'm wrong. If it is indeed Victus, it promises significant improvements in both drop and scratch performance, including surviving drops onto hard, rough surfaces from up to 2 meters. This all sounds great, but what about the standard Note 20? Well, that's a little bit of a different story. Gone are the same ideas of the Note 10 to the Note 10 Plus from last year, and for the first time since premium Note devices began, we have a plastic finish on a Note phone. It feels significantly cheaper in the hand, and although Samsung refer to it as Glastic, it's basically plastic. Now, there are still some great reasons to possibly buy the standard Note 20, and the feel is not horrible, it's just a significant drop off from the Ultra. It doesn't quite look as seamless or refined either, most notably on the corners of the display, which for some reason just look a little bit unnerving, and I can't quite put my finger on why. The Note 20 also comes in Mystic Bronze, but also in Mystic Grey and Mystic Green, which I think is probably the second best colour. Now, there's one thing that Samsung seem to do with all of their phone launches, and that's mess with the layout of things. Maybe to add to the list of incremental updates that they have on each phone to make each new generation feel that little bit fresher. One such example is switching the power button and volume rocker back to the right hand side if you're looking at the phone, which I'm okay with. But there's one thing that I don't think I'll ever get on board with this year, and that's them switching the side of the S Pen from the right hand side to the left hand side. Very bizarre. It's great if you're a left-hander, but for me, the S Pen entrance is exactly where the bottom of my palm rests when I'm holding the phone. So using it just feels straight up awkward. Let's pretend it didn't take me 7 attempts to get the S Pen out for this shot. I mean, moving it back next year on the Note 21 or Note 30 would probably make the phone feel better straight away, so I see what you're doing, Samsung. Now, the S Pen does come with a few new features as well as some old favourites and some performance improvements. It has a 40% latency reduction to just 9 milliseconds, so it really does feel like you're writing on paper. There are 5 new gestures which have been added to the Air Actions that were introduced last year. So now, as well as being able to take photos, skip through music, etc. and use screen off memo, you also have a great screen grab, annotate and share feature, as well as a handwriting correction tool as 2 examples. I really like this feature as through machine learning, the AI actually adjusts your written scrawl to make fast note jots more legible, which you can then convert to computer text also, if you wish. And if any of you have seen my 4-year-old handwriting, you'll know why this is so important for me. If you're taking notes, you can also now press and hold on the pen and save as either a Samsung Note, Microsoft PowerPoint, Word or PDF, thanks to the renewed partnership with Microsoft, which apparently also gives you 100+ games with an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. You can also use Samsung Note Sync, which means you can access any notes you've taken on any compatible device through the cloud using your Samsung account, if you would prefer that to using OneNote, which is also available. Oh, and if you're taking voice notes in a meeting, click on a word from the transcript and it will actually replay you the audio from the meeting for that specific bit. It's going to be a very, very handy feature. So design and build quality, check. S Pen without being too groundbreaking, check. Now onto camera, which on first impressions looks very strong, but a little bit meh at the same time, because there's only really one major improvement it seems, which we'll touch on. So straight out the gate we have similar cameras on both, but definitely not the same. A 108 megapixel wide angle primary sensor on the Ultra, a 12 megapixel on the Note 20. We've got a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with 5 times optical zoom on the Ultra, a 64 megapixel telephoto lens with 3 times hybrid zoom on the standard Note 20. We've got a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens and the same 10 megapixel front camera. Now, all of this seems pretty familiar from previous Samsung devices, but word from Samsung is there's a new telephoto lens and a new hybrid laser autofocus and face detection system, so autofocus is apparently meant to be much quicker. Hopefully this will improve some of the issues that the S20 Ultra experienced, but of course I will go over full camera performance and comparisons in my full reviews once Samsung send out the review units. Samsung were also pushing the new Pro Video Histogram for better exposure measuring in video and Pro Grade audio, with an audio meter and multi-source mic control, allowing you to select whether you want to have an omnidirectional mic, a front or rear, or Galaxy Buds Live, which would be a pretty sick integration for video. All of this screams even more of blending smartphone and full video camera capabilities together, as does the already launched 8K video at 24 frames per second, and you can use it with 21:9 aspect ratio for that real cinematic film look. They also told us that there was a 120 frames per second option, which is great, but they were unclear as to what resolution that was compatible with. I didn't get a chance to check, my guess would be 1080p, but I'll let you know. There's also the single take feature, which isn't new, but now you can alter the time frame between 0 and 15 seconds to appease the youth of today. Oh, and while we're on appeasing people, let's get all the specs out the way for all us tech heads. So you've either got 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM, a max 256 gigabytes of storage on the Note 20, and either 256 or 512 on the Ultra with expandable storage up to 1 terabyte. And again, Ultra only, remember. 25 watt fast charging, promising 50% battery capacity in 30 minutes charge, and 15 watts fast wireless charging on both. IP68 rating on both, Wi-Fi 6 on both, 5G is on the Ultra only, and before we touch on battery, we also have stereo speakers on both. So let's talk battery, shall we? So we have 4,300 mAh on the Note 20 and 4,500 on the Note 20 Ultra, which under any normal circumstances I would be probably completely fine with, but it's the chipset that concerns me a little bit. If you're from the US or China, you probably won't have these concerns because you will get the Snapdragon 865 Plus chipset. But if you're from the UK, like I am, or from Europe, for example, you will be getting the Exynos 990. Now, I'm not here to tell you the Exynos 990 is a terrible chipset, because it's not. It is a brilliant chipset, but compared to the 865 Plus in battery performance, it might potentially be a bit of a concern. And a lot of this data has been taken from comparisons on the S20 Ultra. This has a 5000 mAh battery cell, and I get okay battery life. It's not groundbreaking for 5000. The Note 20 Ultra has a 4500, so 500 mAh less. When you factor in the 120Hz refresh rate, the Quad HD resolution that you can use, I just simply can't get super hyped about it right now without doing more tests and more real everyday use, and of course that content will come, sub to see that. And now the all-important price. The Note 20 Ultra will retail starting from £1,179 and the standard Note 20 from £849. And I'm really torn on this. Usually you would say the cheaper of the two phones is generally better value for money, but in this instance I really don't think it applies. You see, even though the Note 20 Ultra is crazy expensive, I still think it does a better job of justifying its worth than spending £800 odd on the Note 20, which is going to come under a lot of fierce competition in that area of the market. There are some great phones for £700-800 already. Perception is key here, because even though the Note 20 has a lot of flagship features, the fact it's built of plastic or plastic, whatever you want to call it, this legitimately might turn some people away, because £850 feels quite expensive for the average everyday consumer that might pick up a phone expecting more premium materials. It feels to me like Samsung are pushing you towards buying the Note 20 Ultra with the Note 20's non-aggressive pricing. The Note 20 Ultra, on the other hand, is just straight fire. So if you've got the money, just go and stump up the cash. Like and share if you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I've got lots of Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra content coming your way, as well as the new Galaxy Buds Live, Watch 3 and Tab S7 and S7 Plus, for example. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Says BYT, peace out.